Rugby World Cups. Some teams always seem to do really well at Rugby World Cups. Other teams always seem to let us down. That's the topic of the video today. We're going to look through World Cups 2003 through 2019 to see which teams are the overperformers and which teams are the ones that kind of just choke it out, don't seem to bring the goods at Rugby World Cup time. The way we're going to measure this is to look at going into the World Cup, where was that team ranked in the World Rankings? And the World Rankings have got their own issues. There are some teams which benefit from the way the rankings are calculated. Some teams kind of get shafted by that. But either way, whatever you think about the rankings, put that aside. We're going to look at their ranking going into the World Cup and how did they actually finish in the World Cup. So if you're ranked number one going into the World Cup, you should be, according to that, the team that wins it, right? If you're top two, then you should at least get to the final. Top four, you should get to the semis. Top eight, you should get to the quarters. And then even among the lower teams, were you ranked 18th or 10th or whatever? Like, did you finish third in your pool, fifth in your pool, that kind of stuff. The reason we're starting in 2003 is because that's the first year we had the World Rankings going into a World Cup. Most teams, to be honest, and I won't go into too much depth about most of them, most teams kind of balance out. Like some teams like Russia expects to finish last and finishes last. England, they kind of balance out. Like England's had a really good World Cup. Obviously, they won it in 2003. They were the number one team, so they should win it. So they met expectations. Then in 2007, they were ranked 7th and managed to get to the final. So they actually did really well. Then you look at 2015, where they're the hosts, and they're ranked 4th, and they had a tough pool. The way the rankings kind of went into that one didn't do them any favors, but yeah, England really underperformed in that World Cup. So over the course of these 5 World Cups for England, it kind of balances out. Scotland kind of balances out. 2019 was obviously disappointing. 2015 was pretty solid. So over the course of things, balances out. France, actually, you might think are one of the teams that generally hugely exceeds expectations, at least from a New Zealand point of view. They've knocked us out a couple of times, so that's kind of the seed planted in my brain. But France are like pretty solid without being kind of that spectacular. They're like ranked 5th, finish 4th, ranked 3rd, finish 4th, ranked 4th, finish 2nd. So yeah, it's not like huge, like not from 7 to 2nd kind of thing. Not such huge gains, but France have generally never had like a huge underperforming one either. Generally, they've kind of gone out where they're expected to go out or a little bit higher. Georgia, Namibia, Uruguay, these teams have actually had kind of at least one tournament which looks really good in the scheme of things. Like Namibia is pretty much always expected to finish bottom, and then bottom of their pool, 5th. And then in 2019, they finished 4th in their pool. So you kind of look at them, overall, you're finishing not too bad. Fiji's a bit of a mixed bag. You get good one in 07, bad one in 15. Japan is also a bit of a mixed bag. Had a pretty poor 2011. And then a couple of good, more recent World Cups, made the quarterfinals and whatnot. So, yeah. Tonga, Samoa, Canada have actually all been a little bit disappointing. Believe it or not, in 2003, Samoa was ranked 8th and didn't get out of their pool. So, not a great one from them. Tonga in 2007 were pretty decent. So, yeah, most teams, like I said, kind of balance out. A few sides don't quite meet the expectations. Italy actually finishes really well if you're looking at their world rankings, because their world rankings often shows them to be quite low. But realistically, we all know they're usually the 3rd best team in their pool, and they pretty much finished 3rd in their pool. So, that's because they play in the Six Nations, their world ranking is kind of unfairly skewed. But, barring all these teams who mostly finish kind of more or less the same, I want to look at 3 teams who generally do pretty well and 3 teams who generally do pretty poorly. And in terms of the teams that start well, I'm going to start with Wales, because Wales have generally exceeded expectations pretty well, man. Like, if you looked at their world rankings, they should have 4 quarterfinals and no better, and they should have 1 pool game. Sure enough, they did have a pretty poor one in 2007. They did finish 3rd in their pool, But then if you look at some of the other years, they've got a semi-final in 2019, which was up from where they were ranked in the World Rankings. They've got a semi-final in 2011, bloody close to a final in both of those tournaments, you'd have to say. And then in 2003, they were ranked 10th and still made the quarterfinals. So overall, Wales at the World Cup is actually a bit of a heavy hitter, which would have to be pretty pleasing. You'd rather the World Cup appearances and semi-finals and whatnot compared to having the World Rankings. Another one is Argentina. Argentina tends to do pretty well at Rugby World Cups. They did kind of let themselves down according to the World Rankings in 2003 because they were the 7th ranked team but went out in the pool. And again, I should have mentioned this at the start of the video, like sometimes you just get a rubbish pool. Sometimes a pool is exceptionally tough. Sometimes a pool is a bit of a breeze, so it's maybe easier or more difficult to get through at certain stages. Like Argentina in 2019 had a pretty tough group, didn't they? So, yeah. But Argentina, man, in 2007, they're the 6th ranked team. They finished 3rd overall, which is a pretty bloody good achievement. And 2011, they kind of meet the expectations or slightly exceed them. They ranked 9th. They finish in the quarterfinals. 2015, they are ranked 8th and they finish in the semis again. And then 2019, like I said, they go out in the pool. So Argentina should have only had 3 quarterfinals at best. And here they are with a couple of semi-final appearances, even one bronze medal to show for it. The last one I'm going to show for the good side of things is the Springboks. The Springboks, again, according to expectations, should be a pretty consistent semi-final side. Right? They go into World Cups generally in the top 4. 2003, they're 6th, and they do go out in the quarters, so that's kind of normal. Then 2007, they are ranked 4th. Obviously, they win the thing. 2015, they are ranked 3rd. They finish 3rd. 2019, they are ranked 4th. They finish 1st. So whenever South Africa go into a tournament as 4th, seems to be their lucky number. It's only 2011 where they actually drop below their kind of expectation, which is they're ranked 3rd and they go out in the quarterfinals. But I mean, yeah, bloody hell. That's for a team which has never gone in ranked 1 or 2 to come away with 2 World Cups. That's pretty bloody good. So that's the good teams. Now for the bad teams, I'm gonna say USA. Now, again, it's a bit of a tough one because the USA is never expected to get to semis or quarters, but they've generally not met their expectations even among the pool stages, and it's usually that kind of one game where they're up against the likes of either Japan or Samoa or Tonga, and they've lost those games. Just generally, I don't think the USA, except for 2011 when I think they beat... I've forgotten now, but they did win one of their games in that one. I mean, admittedly, again, they've never been drawn with some of the easier beats. They've had some pretty tough draws, but in that one game that they should be contesting, they've tended to lose it, like in 07, in 19, in 15. So, yeah, the USA need to get that kind of MLR talent to boost them through at the next World Cup. Let's hope so. Another one I'm going to say, and it kind of seems a bit ridiculous, but I'm going to say the All Blacks, just based on world rankings, because the All Blacks going into all 5 of these World Cups have been ranked either 1st or 2nd. That's as low as they've been going into a World Cup. So in theory, every one of these World Cup finals should have featured New Zealand. But obviously that didn't happen. New Zealand's only featured in 2 of them. So New Zealand should have won 3 World Cups and featured in all 5. They won 2 World Cups. They've gone out in semi-finals in 03, so they finished 3rd. 2007 obviously was the big quarterfinal disaster. 11 and 15 victories, and then 19 again in the semis. They finish 3rd. So it seems like counterintuitive. Like if you'd said to me in 2010, bro, you're going to win 2 World Cups in 2 cycles, I would have bitten your hand off. But, yeah. Maybe there's still that kind of era of the All Blacks at World Cup time maybe don't meet their full potential. I don't know. But their rankings are generally pretty high. And their winning rate at World Cups does not quite meet those expectations. But the king of World Cup underperforming, and you probably knew this if you're an Irish fan going into this video, Ireland, man. Ireland. According to the expectations based on the world rankings, again, take those with a grain of salt, you should have by now at least a World Cup, because you finished, you started the 2019 competition first on the log. You should have had a semi-final when they were ranked, what was it, third in 2003. And you should be getting at least 3 quarterfinal appearances. But basically with Ireland, the minimum they've done, the best they've done is meet those kind of minimum expectations. 03, third ranked side, go out in the quarterfinals. 07, fifth ranked side, go out in the pool. 2011, they are the 8th ranked side and go out in the quarterfinals. So that's kind of, again, meeting the minimum expectations. 2015, 6th ranked side, go in the quarterfinals. And then 2019, first ranked side, go out in the quarterfinals. So, yeah, bit of a tough one for Irish fans, World Cups. And the next World Cup is going to be another tricky one. But anyway, guys, you can obviously tell I am hankering for a World Cup. We've still got a couple of years to go. But I thought this was just an interesting look to see kind of what does the data actually tell us about those kind of gut feelings about which teams do well at World Cup. I feel like these three you kind of already know that World Cups do pretty well. We already knew the Irish tend to let us down a bit at World Cups. The All Blacks, you can put them there, but I still think most All Blacks fans would still sleep pretty comfortably knowing that they got the 2011 and 2015 tournaments in the bag. If you talked to us in 2010, might have been, like I said, a bit of a different story. But yeah, Italy, as I said, kind of do well if you're looking at their rankings based on how things go at the World Cup, but that's a bit of a false one. Wales do well. Georgia, Namibia, Uruguay, France, England, Japan, Fiji, and Romania are all kind of decent to middling. And then teams like Romania, Portugal, Russia, pretty much dead even. And then the teams, I didn't mention Australia. Australia, I think, should have been in 3 finals because they were the second ranked team in 7, 11, and 15. But obviously they haven't made 3 finals, but they did make 2. They did make the 03 final when they were the 4th ranked team, albeit hosts. So they kind of slightly dip into the negative, but only just. Tonga, Samoa, Canada, New Zealand, USA, and Ireland, like I mentioned, are the ones that actually really start to dip into the kind of negative territory. Scotland, I forgot to mention. I did mention them earlier, though. They're kind of middling as well. So, yeah, as I mentioned, hankering for a World Cup. Forgive me, folks. But, yeah, it's an interesting look to see how teams do compared to their world rankings positions. But anyway, hope you guys are all well. I'm still in lockdown here, so I better go play with the kids or something and stop thinking about Rugby World Cups because that's still miles away. But anyway, take care, guys. I will talk to you again soon. See you later.